Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Foresight TV. I am so glad to be back. Some of you may notice, I hope, that we were actually dark last week. I came back from leading age extremely sick and ended up doing a little hospital stay. I had some internal bleeding. It's all fixed. It's better. I'm going to write about it. You'll get to hear about what was going on and the wisdom that came out of that. I am really excited for this conversation today with Paula and Angela with Mather. We are going to talk about what it means to age well and their Older Bolder campaign. But before we get into our conversation, this. Hey guys, Steve Moran here. Angela, Paula, welcome. And I think I butchered it. It's Mather, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes,
I knew.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm sitting there watching the intro and I go, oh man, that's a way to start, just to butcher the name. You know, and I have a name that's easy to butcher in ways that are used to be really painful as a kid. So anyway, you have this new Older Bolder initiative, and I'd like to have you just talk to me a little bit about what it is, why you created it, and your organization. So who do we start with? Paula, maybe you can hit the organization, and Angela, you'll talk about Older and Bolder. I hear this is sort of your brainchild.
Sounds great.
Sure, I will kick it off. So Mather, we're a nonprofit. We've been around for 84 years, and our vision is to change the way society views aging. And so that we endeavored on Older is Bolder. And I will let Angela just really dive on into the precipice of why we did it. Yes, it was our vision, the reason for the richness of the program, the initiative, and where it all started. So I'll kick it over to Angela.
Excellent. So as Paula said, our vision being to change the way society views aging. My background is in art therapy, and when I think about changing the way people think, I think about imagery and storytelling. And so just thinking about using imagery in a meaningful way, I think about the work that we do in community initiatives, which is one aspect of Mather. We bring programs that are free programs that center creative engagement and wellness for older adults, 55 and better, we say at Mather, across the city of Chicago and across the nation, both in-person programs in Chicago and in virtual programs across the country. And we've made really incredible, deep relationships with people in Chicago, and thinking about some of the people that we've come to know, thinking about the stories of the people that we've come to know, thinking if people were to know these humans, they would really have an opportunity to be curious and an opportunity to change the way they think about who and what we think about when we think about aging. We think about aging well. We think about how your life and how aging can be a gift, an opportunity, an act of care beyond yourself. And so really thinking about also bold initiatives. So I had this image of really large scale portraits of individuals that were moving across trains in Chicago. So if you're familiar with Chicago, we have the CTA system, we have our L that moves through the loop, and really just saw these huge images that could not be ignored, and really leaning into the infrastructure of connection in Chicago, and not only having these amazing images, but that you could use a QR code to go to a story that hopefully that they would be so engaging that they would make you curious, and you would be able to go to a website. Have to credit our so many incredible hands that were part of this. Paula being one of those amazing minds, a part of this, that thought, not just the story, but let's hear the story of each person in their own words, to be able to tell you about who they are and about about their bold vision, about their bold purpose, about their bold acts of service in their community, about their bold heart. And that if you could hear their story in their own words, that this would also be a way of really changing the way that we think about aging and who we think about when we think about older adults in Chicago. So this, thankfully, Mather has the vision to support something like this. And so in September, we were able to launch this initiative that is on 25 buses on one train, and we were able to have this displayed in both the Pilsen station in Chicago and the Roosevelt station. Right now is displayed in Roosevelt. I know people are maybe joining from all over, so you may not be familiar with these places. At Roosevelt is a station right on the west side of the Loop. It's a big thoroughfare in Chicago. Being able to activate such an important point in the city, we're really able to capture an intergenerational audience, millions of people through the CTA. So not only, just being able to really promote a message of older is bolder with an older adult audience, but with younger people as well, and to really hopefully inspire, as I said, curiosity and engagement with a wide group of people. So that's in a nutshell. There's many many different threads there, but that starts to inspire some questions from you, Steve.
Right. Yeah, I love the passion for this. I've been spending a lot more time thinking about it. I turned 70 this year, so I'm right there in the middle of being an older person. And when I turned 70 and I started seeing that age on things like car rental contracts, I thought, boy, it's just hard for me to really argue that I'm not in that older category. And so I've been thinking a lot about this, and I'm thinking a lot about ageism, and I'm going to confess I'm a little bit of an ageism skeptic for a lot of the things that get talked about. Not to say it's not real, because I think there's some real ageism that doesn't get talked about as much as they should. And so aging well is very personal to me. And one of the things I've really struggled with, and I've been talking to my friend Ken Dykewald a little bit about this, is what it actually means to live well. I think that's a huge thing. Now, one of the things you've done that I really like a bunch is that you've talked about ways to age well, not a way to age well. And that's sort of a puzzling thing, particularly for you, Paula, because sales and marketing people kind of tend to be, we have this thing, this way, we're going to change your life with this one thing, right? And this is very, very different. So all that being said, describe for me, and maybe it's not the same for both of you, but what does aging well mean? Paula?
Well, I think you hit it on the head. Steve, I think you're very right. It's personal. It looks different to everyone. And so that's a lot of what we say here at Mather, is that wellness is personal and it looks different to everyone. So you said some of the words, Angela, as part of the campaign, right? Purpose, heart, vision. Those were ways in which those bold makers identified how they are aging well. And they're doing it through service to others. They're doing it through their love to their friends. We purposefully wanted to seek out individuals who are doing amazing things, but that maybe they're not being as recognized as some celebrities are, or influencers are out there that have millions of followers. But these are amazing individuals who are making a huge impact in large and small ways that are laddering up to how they are aging well. And so I think that's the beauty of ways to age well, is there's so many ways. And as a marketing professional, working at Mather, that's one of the joys, right? Is that we can do all of these amazing things and we can reach so many different people because it's personal. There's endless opportunities for it. And it was, through these 10 bold makers, we were able to show some unique ways in which maybe you weren't thinking about how you could age well. And then I'm sure,
Right.
Angela, you might have a few things to add as well.
So I'm gonna spend more of my time right now talking to Angela. We're having some big connection issues with you, Paula. I don't know that you can make some adjustments with your camera. But so I'm going to mostly pick on you, not because I don't love you, Paula, but because I just want to make sure we get the best experience for our listeners. So Angela, you've worked internationally, right? And you have done all this work in Africa, and it's in many other parts of the world. Elderhood and growing older is so much more respected and so much more valued. And in the United States, the Western world, older people seem to be so it's almost invisible. But the question I have is invisibleness something that happens to older adults, or is it something that they choose? And do they sometimes want to say, I just want to go away and be left alone? What do you think?
Steve, is such a good question. And first of all, I don't think that there's a monolithic answer to that. and I would be really remiss to speak for an audience that's so vast, right? I think just in humbleness and in respect to audiences of people who I've gotten to share this campaign with, and in the relationships I've gotten to build in different places in Chicago and in different places that I've had the great blessing to work. I think, oh gosh, I've learned that like developmentally and culturally, there's different I think thresholds that people go through. There was a very thoughtful conversation that I had in sharing about the Older is Bolder campaign at one of our senior living residences recently. And it was a really thoughtful conversation about, at the 80-year-old mark, there's kind of a different way that you relate to being bold. Like, what does even bold mean? That it could be a turning inward and a reflective place, that it's not necessarily an outward expression of boldness, but that boldness could be a turning inward and a thinking about kind of a generativity in this different way. And I think, just to be thoughtful about how there's so many different perspectives and cultural experiences, even within, with what we think of American culture and what we think of, the diversity of that experience. And then you can across cultures, there's there's just a breadth of and depth of that is hard to generalize for sure. But I think that it's really interesting, even with this older is bolder, and what does that mean, to really, even to Paula's point and to your point earlier about what does aging well mean, what does it mean to be bold as we age, that is a personalized experience as well. And what does it take on at different phases of your life? And what does it mean, how is that individualized based on your own life experience and what you're facing at this point in your life, and how you think about what happens beyond your own life. So I think that these are all really important conversations, and I love that it opens into these conversations. I think the richness of that is actually really valuable. And so I don't know if that answers your question, Steve.
No,
it's so meaningful.
Yeah, to me, it's so complex. I had sort of two little stories that I'd love to have you react to. So I have a really close friend of mine. We used to live in the same town in Southern California, and she's a retired school principal, and she's got this big give back heart. And she's the early 80s, late 70s. And as we were talking, one of the things she said to me that really struck home, and I'm going to write about it. It's only an idea in my head. She said, she gave me a list of things she's doing to volunteer. She had another one she's doing, but she says, I want to do more to give back because I think that's what makes me happiest, but I don't know what to do. And I think that's a big challenge for a lot of older people. And that's where my heart is. I know that tomorrow I'm going to go to my church and I'm going to teach, in this case, 5th and 6th grade kids. And as much as I love what I'm doing with Foresight, and I know we make a huge difference here, my greatest joy is that hour I spend with these kids. I've got this big Thanksgiving quest we're going to go on, and I'm very excited about it, plus some content teaching. But then on the flip side, I was on a flight maybe 6 months ago with this older guy who was very talkative, 79 years old, still doing a little bit of consulting work, mostly retired, clearly has plenty of money. And he started telling me about his life. And this particular flight, he was flying into San Diego. We were flying for some conference, and he was telling me he was going there to see a girlfriend. And then he started telling me that he carries Viagra in his pocket. He actually pulled one out to show me. And he started telling me that he's got these girlfriends all over that he goes and sees for 2 or 3 times, through 2 or 3 days at a time, and that's about enough for him. And as he describes it, he's living this beautiful, wonderful, joyous life for him. I don't know what it's like for the women, but I'm not sure. But he's certainly not making the world a better place. Is that aging? Does that fall into living well? How do you react to something like that? I am very conflicted by it. I don't have the right answer. So I'm really curious.
Oh, wow. Well, Steve, I think I tend to identify more with your first example of thinking about how your life is a gift beyond yourself, right? That how and I think just getting back to the examples of the people that are at the center of this campaign, that many have really leaned into, and I'm sorry for all the background noise. I don't know if you can hear all that. I'm actually at one of our community events today, and people are heading out at the end of it. But I do think that what we are really amplifying the stories of people who have chosen the path of service, of really their life being, as I said, like a gift beyond their own efforts. Even, there's one person who is a senior Olympian and, definitely is highly decorated for his efforts and is an amazing athlete. And that's incredible, and he is incredibly successful in that. And yet what he is really also celebrated for is that he coaches people who and youth who then use that as an opportunity to be first generation college students in kind of non-traditional sports that can provide scholarships for them to really make a difference in their lives and really help break a cycle of generational poverty in their families and open up opportunities and doors that potentially wouldn't otherwise happen. And so the thought of that is really powerful. And he links that. He is a historian and a poet and a veteran, and he is very conscientious of the kind of effort he is putting into the world, and is very thoughtful about that. And even his extreme athleticism is part of living this kind of greater impact into the world. So, I so appreciate these examples. They provide such inspiration, and not everyone has to have such an incredible, live into such an incredible example. But I think that there's ways of engendering kindness and with maybe that's volunteering, maybe that's being a kind soul in so many different opportunities in your life. Maybe that's volunteering at your church. Maybe that's working in a soup kitchen. There's so many ways, and maybe it's finding your own way to do that.
Yeah. Yeah,
But your example, I don't know.
it's a very complex
actually
thing to me, right? Because I don't know what it's really like in his head when he goes home at night, right? And I find myself thinking as he described it and thinking back about it, I'm wondering how the women feel if they're being used or they're using him. It's unclear. It's quite. He showed me some pictures, and some of them were quite younger, and so maybe it's a mutual use. So I want to be very clear that I'm not endorsing that as a lifestyle. That's not something that would work for me. But I think what it does is it really demonstrates the complexity of, is living well about feeling good, or is it about mattering, right? And my personal bias is that it's about mattering more than living well. I kind of think of it in the context of what's going to be written on my headstone after I breathe my final breath. So anyway, so Paula, let's see if we can get you back here. I have a question for you, and Angela, you may want to weigh into this as well. As you set out to do older and bolder, it's really two questions that tie together.
Okay.
What was your goal in doing this, and how do you measure success?
So our goal was to set out to change the way society views aging in the Chicago market. And so the great question, which we continue to ask ourselves to this day, look into 2026, how to expand and how to grow this initiative larger next year. Some of the things that we've been looking at and some of the reasons why we chose the places that Angela mentioned with the buses and the stations was to have a presence in the larger stations where we could get the most impact, see the most ages pass through. We know from working with the folks at Intersection at the CTA that those impressions would be over 30 million. And so that was a part of the reason we chose things and part of our goal. We also want to try and measure, are we making that impact? So we've said that word a lot, I think, in the last 20 minutes of impact, right? And not only for ourselves, but also what we're doing as an organization. And so we're using our amazing researchers with Mather Institute to look at some research questions. We've been out at the Roosevelt Station surveying commuters, what are their thoughts on aging? What is an impact that the initiative might have had on them as they are seeing it? So we've done some pre-survey questions before the campaign went live. Now we're doing during the campaign and asking questions to see if we move the needle, and also an impression of what are views on aging? How do people, are they comfortable sharing their own age? Are we comfortable sharing our age? We're not sure. So we're evaluating and looking at all these questions as we survey people, and that will help us know too, from your question about, are we making an impact? We're going to see what this research shares with us in a couple of months.
Yeah, I'm really, really excited about that. I think that anything we can do to be able to empower older people, and as importantly to change people's perceptions. But I have to confess that even though I'm an older person, I suffer from some of those same things. I went golfing a little 9-hole course a few weeks ago. I was by myself and I was going faster than the people in front of me. And pretty soon I caught up to these two old guys, and they invited me to play the rest of the 9 holes with them. And as I thought back about it, I didn't ever ask them their age, but I think those old guys were probably about the same age as me. So, and yet that's how I described them. So some work to do. I'd like to talk, as you know, most of my audience are people who live or work in senior living. And I want to sort of see if we can tie this back into senior living and how this fits and what it means. I think most of or all of your people in the older and bolder are not senior living residents. Is that correct? And maybe not even people, you have real high-end communities, so I'm suspecting maybe not even all of them could afford your building. So I'd love to just have you guys, again, Angela, I'm going to sort of primarily lean on you because of the connection issues.
Absolutely. So Sorry, again, apologies if there's a lot of background noise, but I had the pleasure of getting to present to our senior living communities about the Older is Bolder campaign, and have been inspired by the wealth of ideas that have come forward about, well, how can we, bring this to our to the senior living communities to Mather's senior living communities. And I think there's so many ideas already. First of all, storytelling is something that humans have been doing since the beginning of time, or the beginning of humanity. So I think that there's so many ways that this is already being picked up by folks that are doing different kinds of creative engagement. So whether that's through podcasts or through creative engagement planning, whether exhibitions or photography and bookmaking or performance art, things that are happening across communities, using this kind of theme for sharing, I think is an inspiring theme, for sharing about our stories, and even to embrace the Older is Bolder tagline, or I'm 65 years bold, I'm 89 years bold, and here's my story. I feel like a spoken word night of here's my bold story, or here's one of my bold stories, there's so many different ways, creative ways that this could take off within the senior living communities. And I'm inspired to think how that will evolve. And I feel like there's a lot of opportunities to see that happen. And I'm excited for connecting with others who are excited about it too.
So, two related questions for you. How has doing this project changed you? That's my first question.
Great
and I'll
question.
let you answer that, and I'll go on to the second one.
Okay. Well, first of all, I feel like this work with older adults has changed me. I mean, it's made me really thoughtful about, I feel really thoughtful about how I approach my own life, right? How I approach my parenting, my just evaluating what is big and significant and what is less so. So I feel like I've been gifted a perspective beyond my years because of the relationships that I have with meaningful and deep relationships that I have been gifted with the people that I get to work with and I'm blessed to know. So that is that's one way, and that's before the Older is Bolder campaign. But I think this particularly has made me a much more strident advocate around challenging ageism. I think I see anti-aging campaigns, I see anti-aging products, and I see imagery, and I just it bothers me more. It stands out to me more that from wrinkle cream to to just ads on the sides of vehicles. And I think, why don't we have our Older is Bolder campaign on that billboard, just as a counterpoint to this messaging that we're just swimming in all the time. So I guess I'm more aware of the kind of the fish in the water of ageism imagery and or ageist imagery that's all around us, and want to challenge that, and feel really inspired by being really thankful that there are so many other organizations, and feel like very young in my in having my eyes open to this. There are so many organizations doing such good work in this area. Art Against Ageism, Old People Are Cool. There's so many people out there doing wonderful things, and want to connect with them. So all that to say, these are things that have I guess have changed me about Older is Bolder. And I want to talk to more people about it. I feel very thankful for the study that Paula mentioned. It's great to be at the Roosevelt Station and get to have conversations, with younger people about aging. Oh, that doesn't apply to me. Oh, yes, it does. It does. It applies to you. It applies to all of us. What is the alternative? If
That's right.
aging, yeah. So those are ways. And
Okay.
yeah. What's your
So we're
second
about
question?
out of time. I have a couple more questions I want to touch base on. My second question I was going to ask you, I'm going to put on the shelf because I want to get to a couple other questions. So let's say that I'm a senior living operator. I'm watching this. I'm looking at this older boulder, and I'm thinking, that's really cool. I'd like to do it. I'd like to get involved. What advice and guidance can you provide for them? You want to try it, Paula, and see how we're doing here?
Okay, am I any better? I don't know.
I think we're going to have to go. I think that's not going to work. We're going to go to you, Angela.
Yeah, well, reach out to us, but check out the website. Please go to the website, olderisbolder.com. Check out, please listen to the videos of each of the bold makers at the center of this. Reach out to us and check out other people in this space who are doing amazing work, challenging ageism. But we would love to connect with other people who are also inspired by changing the way people think about aging. And if that is inspiring to you, we would love to think broadly and boldly about bringing this to the senior living side and of our work and love to connect. So please reach out.
Yeah, I love the idea of being able to tell their stories. I think that one of the great opportunities we have in senior living is represented by my friend Susan, who said, I want to do more. I don't know what to do. And I have this dream that senior living is this place where older people come, maybe even in an older, bolder place where they're not necessarily moving into a community, or maybe they're residents, and together they're changing the world for everybody, for future generations. So much capacity to do so much good in the world, and I'm not sure we're really tapping into it in the way we could. We're about done. I'm going to give you sort of 45 seconds, Angela, to last words.
Well, Steve, thank you so much for having us. And I just feel so grateful for the opportunity to share about this work. I'm inspired that you amplified the stories. Please take a moment to go and listen to the folks at the center of this campaign. They, olderisbolder.com. Their words are truly impactful, and I encourage you to be moved by their words and let their stories move your heart and mind as well.
Great. Angela, thank you so much. Paula, thank you for joining us. I'm so sorry we've had the connection problems, and making me even more grateful that Angela was also here. For all of you, thank you so much for watching. I want to say, Sandy, I loved your quote that we put up about the caterpillar who thought his life was over and turned out he was turning into a butterfly. So that was wonderful. Have a great weekend, and we will be back next week with a couple of more new great shows and guests.